you ready? All right. Hi there, I'm Nora Dunn, and I'm otherwise known as the Professional Hobo, and welcome to my interview series, where I speak with ordinary people who have extraordinary travel lifestyles, travel careers, and travel adventures. And I'm very excited about the travel adventures and travel career I will be talking about today with Simon and Carla. Now, they first met 6 years ago on a dating site in the UK. 18 months later, Simon and Carla were married in Barbados. And 2 days into their marriage, Carla suggested that they sell their house, buy a boat, and travel the world. Simon thought about it for all of 2 seconds and then said, yes. They just had to find a way to make it happen. Welcome very much to this series, Simon and Carla. I'm very excited to speak to you today because you have transitioned, of course, from these lives that you formerly led to sailing full-time and being very popular YouTubers. So I'd love to talk to you today about both your career as YouTubers as well as your sailing experiences. I was hoping to learn more about how you guys got into sailing. You went from 0 to 100 and please share how that happened.
Well, Carla certainly went from 0 to 100. Yes. I'd previously actually owned 4 yachts, but I hadn't actually sailed for 15 years. And the furthest I'd ever sailed was from the south coast of England to France. So it was really just a quick overnight hop. But when this suggestion came up from Carla, it was really quite daunting. It took me a few days to get around to the idea that this actually meant we would have to sail across an ocean, which I was never really prepared for at all. And Carla hadn't sailed at all.
No, at all. I remember asking Simon at that time, what we do at night in the middle of the ocean? Do we put an anchor on it, or what we do? Obviously, you can't do that. No. But yeah, that was my first, idea. That's what we do at night. So.
And it took us 18 months, near enough 18 months, from the time we decided to do this to the time when we actually bought the boat. And during that time, we flipped a couple of houses in order to get enough money up together to actually make it feasible, to actually buy the boat and to live off for at least the first year. And by the end of March, beginning of April in 2019, we were sitting in Croatia on this boat, which is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So you've been 3 years now full-time sailing, is that correct?
Yes,
that's correct.
Yeah, next month it will be 3 years. Our journey took us out to Greece, out as far as the Turkish border, the Greek-Turkish border, and then all the way back through the Mediterranean, going to Italy, and Sardinia, the Balearic Islands, and then down the coast to Spain to Gibraltar. And after that, it was around about the end of October in 2018 when we left to go to the Canary Islands before we crossed the Atlantic to get to Barbados and then obviously the Caribbean.
So that was your first ocean crossing for both of you, is that correct?
Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The first ocean crossing really was from Portugal because we went from Gibraltar to Portugal, and then we did the 4-day trip down to Lanzarote,
which tends to be our worst journey ever.
Yeah.
We got a storm on the way, 63 knots of wind, waves the size of a house, and I thought we were going to die. Just on that first leg, yeah. I thought we are dying.
It really wasn't very pleasant, and we didn't actually know it was coming. We had a couple of other people looking at the weather for us, and everybody was saying, oh, you're going to have a lovely ride down there. The wind will be behind you, and it'll be a quick passage. And this came out in the middle of the night, and it was, I would say, exceedingly challenging. But we did manage to survive,
yeah.
And it didn't put us off.
No, not at all.
It could have put a lot of people off, but we were determined we were going to go to the Caribbean and cross the ocean. And it did take us a day probably to get over it, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And we were exhausted because we'd hardly slept. But while we were in the Canary Islands, we took on the experience we had and did some modifications to the boat so that we actually felt a lot more confident if the weather got bad again. It was rearranging systems so that we could clip ourselves on, and also we did man overboard drills and various things like that, so that we had a lot more confidence about how we were going about doing it. From there, the Atlantic crossing took us
to Cape Verde and then to Barbados.
So it was around about 5 or 6 days down to Cape Verde, which is an archipelago of islands nestled off Africa. And we stayed there about a week before we made the 15-day crossing to Barbados, which was wonderful, because obviously that was where we got married.
Excellent. It's like a second honeymoon. And it was just you two, or do you have any help, or did you have any help on the ocean crossings?
The trip down to the Canary Islands we did ourselves. We'd actually booked a couple to come with us on the Atlantic crossing from the Canary Islands to Barbados, sorry. And because we thought the insurance company would want us to have 4 people on the boat, you see. And when they gave us the all clear to go, they said, no, you could go on your own. But we didn't feel like we could let these people down, having
arranged it.
Yes. Yeah, but this last summer in 2020, we came back from the Bahamas by going to Bermuda and then to the Azores and then to Portugal. We did that one on our own, which is actually a much harder trip than going.
And how is it harder?
Interesting.
Well, there's a thing called the trade wind route, and you can sail all the way around the world the way the old sailing ships used to do their passages to service the trade, but they would do it by certain routes at certain times a year, which meant that the wind was behind them. And from Northern Europe, you get what you call the Portuguese trade winds, which come down the coast of Portugal, then down the Moroccan coast. And then by the time you get to Cape Verde, they swing off towards the Caribbean. So relatively speaking, although it can get rough, the wind is going to be behind you, the waves are going to be behind you, so it's a lot more comfortable. Coming back across the Atlantic is far more challenging because you're not going to get that same trade wind. There isn't a trade wind going that way. So you're going to have to find the best possible route through the lows and highs of the North Atlantic and the weather systems to get yourself back. So for example, we left Bermuda thinking it was going to take us 10 to 12 days to get to the Azores. And in the end, it took us 18 because we just couldn't get the winds right. We were going in the wrong direction, basically. Wow. So there's a lot more sailing on the wind and things like that. And it's a much harder sail all round. Yeah.
So it sounds like an exhausting journey, and it would have been just you two. Is that, I mean, how did you work? Because, you know, like you said, Carla, it's not like you can put anchor down at night and get a good night's rest. I would imagine that you had to take shifts. One of you was on all the time and one of you was off. And how was that with just 2 people?
Yeah, we take 3-hour shifts at night, which they start at 7 o'clock. I normally do the first one, 7 to 10. And then Simon comes up, and then, so that's how much we sleep. If we sleep that time, because sometimes if it's a stress, if we have to go and check the sails or do some work outside, so we are both awake because we have this rule for safety that we both, if one has to go outside, has to wake up the other one, because we don't want one of us just outside there. Otherwise, you know, something can go wrong. And so we always have both of us outside. So sometimes we don't even sleep those 3 hours, or we sleep 1 hour.
You get very, very tired, and you kind of get into a way of, you go to bed and you just go to sleep. And then you just wake up 2 hours, 55 minutes later, you know, just before you have to be on the next thing. And over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, you kind of adapt to that lifestyle. And then during the day, you kind of just catnap as well. Yeah. So you never get a full night's sleep. One of the other issues we have is Carla gets very seasick, which really doesn't help the situation at all. And you're throwing up all the time, really.
The first 2 days, it takes me about 2 days to get used to the movement of the sea and the balance of the boat. So yeah, during those 2 days, I'm just running out to the toilet, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw in one of your videos that Simon, you had the camera on Carla, and Carla, you were laying there looking just destroyed, and you said, "That's it, we're selling the boat. I've thrown up 7 times. We're selling the boat."
Yeah.
And I certainly know that feeling. I dealt with a fair bit of seasickness, and then I did a 14-hour sail, so I mean, not really a huge one. And I was hoping that that gave me my sea legs, but I'm not really so sure it did. Is there such a thing as getting your sea legs?
I don't think I have ever got it, because after 3 years, I still get.
Yeah, but after about the 3rd day on the passage,
yeah,
you
I'm
normally
okay. Yeah,
okay.
I'm okay. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so long as it doesn't sort of get super rough after that, you do tend to be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I
kind
get
of settle
better.
into it.
Yes.
My problem is that if Carla's really bad, all she can do is lie down, and so I'll end up staying up all night, and I get completely delirious. So, yeah. I start hearing things and seeing things, and that's not good at all, really. So
it's very stressful. These passages, long passages, are very, very stressful, especially across the ocean. And yeah, we get exhausted, completely exhausted. By the end, we just want to arrive, have a shower, eat something, drink a beer, because we don't drink any alcohol during the journeys. So drink a beer and go to sleep.
But having said all this, it is actually worth it. Well, I mean, what you get at the next place is absolutely fantastic. So there is a bit of hardship involved. This isn't like sort of getting in your car and going down the motorway. You know, you've got far more of the elements to deal with than actually, you know, driving your car. You might need to put your wipers on, but after that is really the same. But the places you get to visit and the way you visit them is a lot more special than jumping on an aircraft and turning up in some exotic island.
Yeah.
How is it more special?
Well, because you see the place with the real people, because we are on a boat, so we need to arrive to a place and go to the supermarket and go and get gas and go and get, you know, everything we need. So we deal with the real population of that place. It's not like you are in an island, you arrive in an island by aircraft and then you just have everything, you know, serves to yourself. No, we need to go after everything. So
and also, if you took an island, for example, like Antigua, and you went there on holiday, you might go on a couple of tours around the island. But Antigua has something like about another additional 10 islands or 15 islands, something like that. And we would actually, you know, we would go out and find these more remote places and these remote islands and spend time there, which you would actually really never get to go to. A classic example is an archipelago of 350 islands off the Venezuelan coast called Los Roques. And we went there and there was probably only about another 3 boats. And once we left the main island of Gran Roques, we actually had islands and beaches and everything completely to ourselves. We were completely isolated with a beach a mile long, beautiful, beautiful water, beautiful beach, and absolutely nobody there apart from the sea life and the bird life. And these are places that you would never ever get to go if you tried to do it through a tour operator, for example. It would be incredibly expensive.
The experience, I have a little bit of experience sailing. I spent about 3 months living on boats, about 5 boats in the Caribbean. And certainly the experience for me was one of being much more in touch with nature and the elements. Because of course, when you are wind powered, you really need to you know, become one with the environment, as you were referring to earlier, which is certainly a very different way of traveling than if you are, like you say, you know, hopping on an airplane and arriving at a destination and doing a tour. What other differences did you find you experienced when you went from landlubber life to full-time sailing?
Well, I think there's 2 things for me. One is you tend to work with the daylight hours. And so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you tend to get up as soon as daylight's arriving and you tend to go to bed after it gets dark, as opposed to, you know, people get up 2 or 3 hours maybe after sunrise and then they go to bed 2 or 3 hours after. Also, the weather, it's a constant thing about looking at the weather, watching the weather, seeing what's happening with the weather, isn't it?
Yeah, the weather is the most important thing in our lives. I mean,
Yeah.
the wind, we just need to know where the wind is. So we can anchor here because it's more protected. So the boat is not going to be, you know, balancing all night and then bouncing all night and then we can't sleep. So it is definitely the weather.
Yeah. And I just think you get to go to so many absolutely fantastic places that you just wouldn't see any other way. I mean, it would be practically impossible. We've been to 47 countries and hundreds of islands and cays and things like that. So it's an absolutely incredible experience. Go off piste. The Lesser Antilles are quite well toured, but when you start going down to places like Los Rosques or San Blas Islands or Boca de Toro in
Islas del Rosario in
Colombia and places like that, you're really going off the beaten track. And this is the only people you see there are people that are on their boats, and you have everything with you. I mean, we even have a food mixer and a toaster, and you know,
it's
you
like
carry everything.
It's like taking our home with us wherever we go. So we have, you know, we have a washing machine, we have a water maker which produces water from the seawater. So we can be
fridges, freezers.
So we can be off the grid and we catch our own fish. So we can be off piste for, you know, months if we want to.
Yeah, as long as we got enough food in the bed, in the fridge and the freezer and the tanks.
And like you say, you have your home with you. However, I'm imagining that the square footage of your boat is a lot smaller than the square footage of the places that you previously lived. Was there, how was the transition? I assume you had to sell everything to transition to the smaller space?
We did, because we haven't got any furniture.
We gave all the furniture to our kids. We have 4 kids, so we gave a lot of stuff away. We sold some stuff.
And we put some stuff in storage. But we actually brought an awful lot with us. I mean, our catamaran's 40 foot long by just over 20 foot wide, so it's 800 square feet. Which is, you know, bigger than some people's flats, for example.
It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, you know, but proper bedroom.
Proper queen size bed. We have hot water, we have central heating, not that we needed in the Caribbean. So pretty well, it's pretty well set up actually. When in the early days, when we decided we were going to do this, we decided we were going to go with a monohull. And it was somebody suggested it to us, have you looked at a catamaran? And it really is a fantastic cruising boat. They really are absolutely wonderful. Just simply getting it on and off into your dinghy, because we treat our dinghy like a car to go to places when we're at anchor, is absolutely fantastic.
And the other thing that I've certainly heard about living on and owning boats is that it is labor intensive. It is a lot of work and it requires you to be very handy. Was there a learning curve involved in living and maintaining your boat?
Simon is very good in DIY, very, very good.
Before we came away, I actually went on a boat electrical course, a boat engine course, and also a fiberglass repair course, because if I didn't damage my boat, the chances I might damage somebody else's. And that, with the knowledge I already had, was really quite useful, because you've got to be able to do nearly everything yourself, because when you go out to these places, there's nobody around.
There's no one there.
There's no shops for you to go buy parts. So you've got to kind of improvise and make things work. Yeah, we carry spares, but you can never have a spare for everything, if you see what I mean. So it is a lot of work. At the moment, we're out of the water because we need to put some new bottom paint on, and the boat got very dirty. We've done 25,000 miles, and the actual fiberglass takes in a lot of dirt. So we're having to cut that back and polish it more to get it actually looking good again, which is an awful lot of work. It's about 5 days solid work.
It's a lot of work, but it's something we have to do. So it's in general, it is a lot of work. It's not just about the sunsets and having you know, your cocktail at the end of the day.
No. We do a bit of that though as well.
Well, you get the best of all worlds, certainly, and I can imagine that it's a very satisfying lifestyle. Do you have any advice for somebody who is looking at transitioning to living on a boat full time?
Well, if you don't have any experience of sailing, go on a course first thing, learn, do some training, and try to go on a boat before you buy, because buying a boat is a very expensive thing. So try to go on someone else's boat or charter a boat to feel the experience first before you actually go on this life, because you know, it's really an expensive thing to find out later that you're not fit for this life.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of friends now, and they bought their boat 2 years ago on the intention of sailing around the world. It's a 50-foot monohull, and they decided they're selling it and buying a catamaran because they think they made a mistake buying a monohull. I mean, there are disadvantages to catamarans, but you really need to sort of work out which is the best type of boat for you, what your expectations are, and how that boat's going to sail, and then you can plan your route around it. What I would say to anybody who's thinking about doing this, go sooner rather than later and get on with it, because this lifestyle is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. You will regret not going a year or two before. Yeah. We actually left a year earlier than planned, and we were so grateful for that. And it is absolutely tremendous.
Wow, fabulous. And of course, the other main ingredient of your lifestyles is your YouTube channel, which is Sailing Ocean Fox. I read that you, it's just, you know, for a lark, created a video and it did really well. And it basically transitioned you into a career as YouTubers. Talk to me a little bit more about how that happened for you.
Yeah, that was a big learning curve, because neither of us were into social media at all. So we had to learn how to play with Facebook tools, Instagrams, you know, Twitter, TikTok now. So you kind of have to be everywhere to promote your channel, because just producing the videos put on YouTube, because it's not going to take you anywhere. You need to do a bit more work than that. You need to, you know, to promote your channel in the other social media channels. So people can watch and people start seeing if they like you, if they don't like you. And you need to reply to all the comments, or at least try to reply to all the comments, to engage with your followers. And, you know, create some...
Yeah, it took us, YouTube have a criteria. You have to have
1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
1,000 subscribers, 240,000 minutes watch to be monetized.
To be monetized.
We got that after 11 weeks, which is great. Really, really good.
A lot of people seem to think that YouTubers make an awful lot of money, but I can tell you, you know, a one view is point of a cents, and you actually do need to get up quite a lot of views in order to actually get any revenue coming in at all. Once you have kind of like 100 programs up there, people always go back and look at the back catalogue. So they're not just watching the new program this week. You're getting some income off all the others as well.
Yeah, because they find you accidentally, or because you promote here, you promote there. So they find you, they like you, they go into your personality, and then they go back from the beginning and watch all your programs. So
there's been a huge learning curve, because you know, social media is such a big thing, and we just weren't really into social media. But it's been very interesting, even learning to video edit. Neither of us knew how to do that. And it's been wonderful. We also have a Patreon site whereby people can basically sponsor us per program or per month, and they get additional programs that they can watch. And as well, we also offer a liveaboard experience where people can come and spend 6 days with us on the boat. And what we do is we show them what this lifestyle is really like. It's not like a yacht charter or a holiday. So we actually go through how we go from one country to another, how we check into those countries. If we have to fix the toilet, they fix the toilet with us, kind of thing. And we get a revenue off that as well, which works well.
And that liveaboard experience sounds like a fabulous way for people to cut their teeth in terms of sailing. And as we were talking about earlier, to maybe to decide if it would be a lifestyle that they're willing to or able to pursue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it's for. And, you know, we can answer all their questions and, you know, what concerns they may have and things like that during their stay, which is absolutely brilliant.
So you have revenue from the YouTube channel, you've got your Patreon, and you have the liveaboard. Are there any other streams of income that come with the business that you're running?
I write articles for magazines, and that gives us some revenue as well.
And that's also a fabulous way to get publicity as well. I used freelance writing
Absolutely.
as a way to build my own website. So it goes hand in hand very well. I put on my Facebook page that I was interviewing you this week, and I asked my readers if they had any questions. And they as well were absolutely astounded at how quickly you were able to grow and monetize your channel. And their question was, how do you grow your followings? And what kind of work do you do with regards to SEO, if anything, on the YouTube platform?
So Simon writes a blog every day about what we are doing on that day, or what we have done the day before. And then I go around to all the sailing channels, all sailing groups, and the groups that allow people to share their work. So I go around everywhere and I share everywhere I can. You know, some people get fed up of me, but some people accept it very well. So that's how we started the growing.
Yeah,
really
that was how we started growing. And then the other trick is that if you've got a video coming out on Saturday, you take what we call a spin out, a little 10 or 15-second clip, and you post that on Facebook as well. And say
post everywhere, on Facebook, on the stories, on Instagram, on Twitter. You break the video in where they permit, IGTV, everywhere they let us put some seconds of the videos we do, and we just just create little teasers and for people to come and watch the video. It is a lot of work. It's not easy. We work about 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah. Because we decided that on Sundays we won't work any longer and we're having a forced day off. So I tell you, it's about 10 hours.
You've really got to promote yourself if you want to get monetized. And the more you promote yourself, some of the people that run the Facebook groups may complain, but don't worry about it. Just keep going, and just keep going.
Yeah. And the comments, some of the comments, most of the comments are nice, especially on YouTube. But you're gonna have some trolls. Yeah. You're gonna have some of those, but ignore them. Delete if they are very rude. Just delete it. And if not, they're just engaging with your channel anyway. So you just take advantage of that.
On my blog, I've had up to 65,000 reads in a day, which is quite a lot, actually.
Wow. And what is your blog? What's the address?
It's at Sailing Ocean Fox on Facebook.
We have a very consistent brand, which helps a lot. So it's Sailing Ocean Fox everywhere.
Brilliant. So the blog, the daily updates you do are on your Facebook page, Sailing Ocean Fox. Is that correct?
And Instagram too.
So it sounds like Facebook and Instagram have been very instrumental in helping you grow your channel and engage with your audience. Are there any other, you mentioned TikTok and there's always a new channel coming out.
Yeah, lately I just joined TikTok and I'm trying to do some videos. It's quite hard, but I try to go with the trends, and do something funny to see if people engage with us there too. And the Twitter, now it's a Telegram coming too that I'm trying to learn as well. You just have to learn how these tools can help you and try to be there too.
Now, there are a lot of YouTubers out there. There are a lot of sailing channels out there, and a lot of influencers who are, generally speaking, very young. They're in their 20s and 30s, and they may or may not have had previous careers or lives and lifestyles. You went into this a little bit later, and I'm curious as to what differences, positive and negative, there have been in being older content creators.
Well, I was quite nervous of it, actually, and I thought, who's going to want to watch a grey-haired old man like me sailing around the world? But the reality of it is that most of the people that are out there are people of our kind of age. And it's something that people go, well, when I'm 55, when I'm 60, I'm going to buy myself a boat and set sail. Not all. There's some young people out here, unquestionably. But generally, that's a lot of people's dream, is they're going to get enough money up together during their life and then set sail.
And they want to see if they still can do it. So that's what they get from us.
Yeah.
See, they go to their partner and say, see Simon and Carla are doing. We can do it too. We have met a lot of people that we inspired from the beginning.
Yeah.
And we have met them at sea. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. It's strange people coming up to you and saying, you know, you're the reason why we're here on this boat. Yeah. And, you know, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
I think our age was very, very positive.
Yeah.
We never had a problem, people saying, oh, you're not 20 years old, or, you know.
No.
Yeah, no, I think it was very positive. It wasn't a problem at all.
No. This is Dobby, by the way, our naked sailor.
Dobby's very affectionate, I can tell. So I'm curious, you've mentioned that you work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's a hefty workload. What does work-life balance look like when you were sailing? And also, what does an internet connection look like while you're sailing?
Oh, in the Caribbean, internet connection is a major problem. Believe me, it is a problem. We had so many upsets because we need to upload a video, and then we can't upload the video because, you know, our SIM card is not working. You go to a coffee shop, the internet is too slow. It takes 20 hours to upload the video. So we had all those problems. And then we finally, we did. In Europe, it's better.
In Europe, it's a lot better. But when you go out to these places, what we tend to do is we buy a local SIM card, put it in a phone with unlimited data, and then we hotspot off that. That tends to be the answer. While we're at sea, there's no mobile phones, but we do have a satellite phone. And what we would do is email Carla's youngest daughter, Rafaela, and she would put the blog back together and post it for us.
Yeah, and what we tend to do too, it's always be 6-7 weeks ahead on YouTube. So we always have those weeks ahead of us, so we don't need to stress that, oh my gosh, we can't upload the video this week, we don't have internet this week. So that's why we learned we had to be ahead. Here we are much more relaxed. We are week by week, just because we have good connections. But that's what we used to do in the Caribbean. That's what we had to do for the crossings. And then with Rafaela's help, she was kind of the land helper, and she would click the buttons to upload for the video to go live and things like that.
Yeah.
So this is fabulous advice that you are doling out here, getting a local SIM card with unlimited data, using that for an internet connection when you're in ports. And when you're at sea, ideally having somebody that you can email content to if it requires uploading, definitely having somebody online who can help you out and minimize your data connectivity when you don't have the ability to connect as easily is fabulous. Do you have any advice for someone who's a newly minted remote worker who's looking to take their gig on the road and to live and work aboard boats?
Oh, just do a bit of research on where you're going and what GSM telephone signal is available there, because it's certain we've been to places where there is, and if you say, for example, take Cuba, they don't really have a telephone network. It's all Wi-Fi hotspotting. So there's other places as well, remote places, which don't really have it. And often in places like Panama, it's not that good, is it? It's not like what we expect from
Definitely do a lot of research before you go. Yeah. So you can you can expect what's going to happen, so you can be ahead on your kind of work, whatever work you do.
Yeah.
And the work-life balance, of course, I imagine, what does your pace of travel look like? How long will you spend in a port before moving to the next one so that you can feel you've had a good experience of that place?
It depends how much we like the place, really.
Yeah, we've been to a few and we've left in 24 hours because we just really didn't like it at all. And other places, for Aruba, for example, we stayed there for 7 weeks because we loved it so much. And this is along the way, we wish we hadn't left and stayed there a lot longer, which is a bit of a shame.
There's another thing we have to take in consideration before leaving the places is where are the winds blowing. So we have to wait for the right time of the year to go to certain places because of the wind. We have to go with the wind. So that's another thing that influences on
us as where we're going and which direction we're going in.
And how long we stay in places.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this, and from a remote work perspective, if I were a telecommuter, so I work for an employer who requires me to be online as if I were in the office during certain hours, I feel like that wouldn't be very complimentary to a sailing lifestyle. What do you think?
It really just depends where you are. I mean, obviously, it's going to work if you're on an ocean passage. But say, for example, you were sitting in Antigua, that you could be on line 24 hours a day. And here in Portugal, it really isn't a problem at all.
You have to plan even better. Like you'd have to take your holidays time when you're going to cross the Atlantic, because you won't be able to do anything. No. I mean, you can send emails, but not more than that. So no. You would have to plan your life much carefully, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, anywhere in Europe, really, you're pretty good. You haven't really got a problem. But when you start going out to the Caribbean or Panama and Colombia, Cuba and Mexico, it all starts to get a little bit more complicated.
And also, too, I guess for weekends, if you've got weekends off, though, that would be when you would plan to change your location, weather permitting. And also, I guess it would be important to also be flexible and to, you know, if the winds aren't good that weekend, well, then you stay another few days or another week at the port that you're in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just a bit more planning, and I think you could do it.
Mm-hmm. I certainly feel like an entrepreneurial or self-employed or freelance lifestyle would be just that little bit more complimentary when you can make your own hours while taking advantage of the winds, literally and figuratively.
Absolutely. I think that is really ideal situation. We actually met all sorts of people that work from their boats. So even like an investment banker, he was on his boat, PR company, who ran a PR company from a boat, IT software writers and things like that. So there's an awful lot of us out here that have various different businesses going. And they're not all people, for example, like who do canvas work or service engines or, you know, actually work on boats. There's a lot of people out here that do have their own, but I do think it does tend to be more freelance orientated. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and I imagine that you're going to have to make room for even more, because the pandemic has inspired all kinds of, it's necessitated all kinds of careers and people to go remote. And I anticipate that when the pandemic clears and travel becomes a little bit easier, these newly minted remote workers will be able to and will choose to exercise the flexibility of location and lifestyle. And I'm very excited to see how things will go, and perhaps your community will grow. Do you have any final words to leave us with today?
Oh, just if you're thinking about it, of buying a boat and living on a boat, it is absolutely wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. And you know, you can just have the most wonderful lifestyle, especially in the tropics when it's warm all the time, and everybody waits for 6 o'clock for the sun to dip into the ocean and have that wonderful glass of something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where can people find you?
You can find us everywhere at Sailing Ocean Fox.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
Our website is www.sailingoceanfox.com.
And if somebody's interested in a live aboard experience, will they go to your website to get more information about that?
Yeah, it's on our website, yes.
Yeah, the whole experience is on our website, yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both very much for joining me today. I anticipate that anyone who is interested in the sailing lifestyle is going to come away with a lot more information and hopefully a little more enthusiasm for the lifestyle. I'm Nora Dunn, otherwise known as the Professional Hobo, and I'll see you next time.